Are you interested in a career in public safety? Take the first step and enroll in the Marana Police Department Cadet Program. It's open to teens and young adults ages 14 to 20. Classes meet every Wednesday at the Marana Police Department Station in downtown Marana. To apply, visit maranaaz.gov/MPD.
Are you over the age of 50 and looking for adventure in southern Arizona? Then look no further than the Town of Marana Senior Program, which offers monthly day trips to various destinations such as Tombstone, Apple Annie's, Wilcox, Queen Creek Olive Mill, Dolly Steamboat, and more. Join the adventure and meet new people while discovering everything our beautiful region has to offer. Learn more about upcoming trips by visiting maranaaz.gov/team-senior.
Welcome to Real Talk with the Town, where I sit down with Marana staff to answer your burning questions about our beautiful community. My name is Terry Rozema, and I'm the town manager for the town, so let's get started. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Real Talk with the Town. My name is Terry, and I am your host, and today we're talking about all things Parks and Rec. And our two guests here today, so everybody knows, Wayne Barnett, been on the show before. Welcome, Wayne.
Terry, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Wayne is our Deputy Parks and Recs Director for about another 2 weeks.
That's right.
All right. And he's not going anyplace. We'll cover that in a minute. Sitting across from him is Jim Conroy, our Parks and Recs Director. And Jim is going to be the Parks and Recs Director for about another 2 weeks.
That is correct, Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that later in the show. But it's kind of neat because this will be Jim's last time on the show, probably, in all likelihood. And we're gonna chat a little bit about that. But before we get into Parks and Rec stuff, before we get into changes in the Parks and Recs department, you guys aware that you guys were a part of a national award, first place national award recently?
Yeah, I did hear something about that.
Yeah. So you were actually part of it in the sense that the award was for a podcast, and you were on the podcast.
I was. That was a really fun episode to do.
Yeah. So the communications team put together this great podcast with a video, submitted it for a national award. It is part of the 3CMA, which is City County Communications and Marketing Association, and it won first place in video interview talk show / news program. So great job to the team. And it's for the video, What's New in Marana Aquatics and Recreation Center, Town of Marana, Arizona. So how do you guys feel about that?
It's really exciting. Our communications team does such an amazing job. We see it all the time, but it's great for them to be recognized for the work that they do. That particular episode, they took some risks, went a different direction. They put, our ugly mugs on screen, and
so you guys can't see Wayne. You have to go back and look. Wayne is anything but an ugly mug. So he's a handsome man.
Well, I appreciated them taking that risk. It came out great, and we still get really positive feedback on that episode.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Parks and Recs crew, a tremendous group of people. The communications team, a tremendous group of people. And it's nice to be recognized for the work that you do. And to get first place in a national award, that's pretty impressive. So first place in the Savvy Award category there for podcast and news programming. So great job, team. Well, we've been getting a few questions here and there, guys, about Parks and Rec stuff and what's going on with it. And I want to start off with the MARC because we are now, a good almost 5 months, 4 months, 1, 2, 3, 4, I guess almost 5 months into our time with the MARC. So, Jim, I want to start with you and just ask you, how do you think it's going, man?
Yeah, it's been really so well received by the town, Terry. I guess we're approaching 135,000 visits, over 10,000 members. And I think, when you ask us that, it's impossible for us not to kind of pull the curtain back and think about the decisions that we made through the 4 years of getting ready, design and construction, et cetera. And, I'm
going to jump in here a minute.
Sure.
Because you just said something that probably most people had no idea. 4 years of planning this center and putting it together. That's impressive. So I guess I highlight that because I think you're going to talk about some of these things right now, and that is just the amount of thought, consideration that went into every decision for this facility, all for the purpose of serving our residents to the very highest capacity that we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, Terry, the obvious element is health and wellness, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to go in there, they're going to take an exercise class, they're going to walk in the indoor track. But we also gave a lot of thought to how's this going to affect a person, their mental health. We want them to walk in. So openness was very important. When you walk into the MARC, we've heard so many positive comments. People love the open architecture. We put a lot of emphasis on the orientation of the building on the site, how light would go into the building, not having glare. So the light would be, here again, not something somebody's going to think about unless it's a problem. The other thing...
They're not going to know you got it right, but they're going to know if you got it wrong.
They're going to know if you got it wrong. So, the light orientation was also very important to us, and we did a shade study prior to. That's not done with a lot of facilities, a shade study. And our architect, Mike Russo, we worked very closely with on that. But also sound. With the kind of visitation, we have 1,000 visitors a day is what our average is. And with that type of traffic, it can get very loud. And we also didn't want people to be uncomfortable because the sound decibels were so high, right? And it would be unpleasant. So the materials, when you go to the MARC, when you look on the walls, there's all sorts of fabrics. And there's all sorts of, it looks like art and design, and it's pleasant to the eye cosmetically, but it's also very functional from an acoustics perspective. So sound in the MARC, even when it's packed, it's a pretty nice environment for people to be in. And I'm
going to give you a little bit of backup on that because I was just there last week with some people, and these are guys that are developing things all over the country. And we're standing there in the gym because they wanted to do, they're from, two of them are from Austin, one of them was from San Francisco, and they're developing stuff all over the country. And they come over to look at our facility, and they're standing there in the 3-court gymnasium, and one of the guys is looking around, and he says, my gosh, this is amazing, and the acoustics are incredible. Yeah. What material did you guys use? And I was able to tell them that we use Tectum, my favorite material, right?
You had an opinion.
I had an opinion about it. It was a pretty strong opinion. I was absolutely wrong about it, but I did have an opinion. So to your point, people don't think about that, but that's a big deal. When you walk into a place and it's so noisy you can't hear yourself think, as opposed to walking in and going, wow, this is actually quite pleasant. So
I think, Terry, if I could mention one other element that I think is really important is we want to take care of their bodies when they're in there. So the floor surface was very important. We want to make sure that you're exercising on a floor surface that is going to be very forgiving to your lower extremities. When you're walking on our second floor track, or if you're playing basketball in the gymnasium or volleyball or whatever the fitness pursuit you have, we wanted to make sure that surface that you're doing that activity on is going to be the best for you and your body, that your hips aren't going to be sore, your knees aren't going to be sore. And now that we're here again, 135,000 visits later, the feedback that we've gotten from folks about those floor surfaces has been very positive. And then the views, from a standpoint of mental health, the building was built to take advantage of the view sheds of the mountains, of the Catalinas and of the Tortolitas and the Tucson Mountains. And when you walk on the second floor, you see all 3 of those mountain ranges. And lots of nice feedback with that, as well as the exercise area too, which is wide open to see both the Catalinas and the Tortolitas. So we think that puts people in a nice state of mind. No glare, beautiful views, sound decibels low, good floor surfaces. And those are the things behind the curtain that we think about. And I'll stop there because I could do a half a day on this one.
So let me ask you this. With all of those areas you just talked about, you feel like it's mission accomplished?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And but I don't think that
I think we'd be hard pressed, quite frankly. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think we'd be hard pressed to find somebody who would say it wasn't mission accomplished. the kind of feedback we're getting, and I know you get it far more than I do, but I get it a lot.
Yeah.
And people are blown away by the quality of the facility.
Well, in Wayne, Wayne was the president of our state Parks and Recreation Association, and that's over 90 organizations in the state. And Wayne did a municipal day where people from, basically all these different departments in the state came. And I don't know, Wayne, maybe you could share a little bit about the feedback you got. And those are people that build these type of facilities.
Yeah, after we opened, we reached out to our colleagues to come and just tour the facility and just do some sharing, some information sharing, because so many people were helpful to us. As Jim mentioned, during that 4 or so year period where we were doing our research, we wanted to return the favor. And the reception was, as you would expect, it was fantastic. People were blown away by, it's a beautiful building, so just seeing the building is something, but then being able to go in, sort of go behind the scenes, hear about some of the decisions that we made and some of our thought processes. It was really gratifying to just see, from a professional standpoint, folks who do this same thing or in the same business really were appreciative of what we did. And so, that was really a fun day for us to be able to share the MARC with our friends from across the state.
I think the historical element, too, was something that our colleagues, one of our colleagues who I have the most amount of respect for, just built a $50 million facility herself. She said, the way the town captured its history in the artwork, she said, is such a home run. She said, I really got emotional, actually, when I was looking at it. A colleague from Queen Creek. She said, it really, she said, I think that just kudos to the town. And I told her about Jill McClary, with her background. And they're, again, team, right,
yeah,
Terry?
Right.
I mean, we had so many great team members that helped, but also that historical element, both inside in the hallway, as well as in the exterior with the beautiful artwork.
Right.
And Andrea from the manager's office who did that. Just such an unbelievable contribution from so many teammates.
A lot of hands in the kitchen, and we did not spoil the broth. So, yeah, I think, Wayne, you were being a little bit humble when you said that the folks that showed up from around the state were appreciative of what you. I would say they were wowed. I happened to be there that day when they were there.
Oh, that's right.
And I talked to 2 of them, and one of them actually told me, wow, you guys are the belle of the ball. It basically conveying to me that this is the nicest facility in the state of Arizona. So, kudos, tip of the hat to the entire team. I mean, obviously, so many people had their hands involved in this. And, of course, the architects, the Architecton, Mike Rosso and crew, and, just great people, Chase Building Company and whatnot. So, tremendous job.
Yeah, and you couldn't have become, and I know you don't want to hear this, but I'm going to say it, you became the town manager at a time that we were really just starting to get rocking on this, and we really always recognize and appreciate your leadership to help get this to the goal line, Terry.
Yeah, appreciate it, Jim. So, talked about the MARC, but I'm going to ask you one more question about the MARC, because this is one I still kind of get occasionally. It's died off quite a bit now that we're getting further into the fall. But pool hours. Wayne, can you cover pool hours for me? And people are like, why isn't it open 24/7? Right?
Yeah, I can certainly answer that. We've had a lot of practice answering that question.
Do you have a need for speed? Whether you want to improve your race time or just have fun, the Run Marana series has something for everyone. Choose your challenge and sign up for one of the 5 races held throughout the year. Visit maranaaz.gov/run to sign up. Your speed, your run, your town.
Is your home in need of serious repairs? Marana's Housing Rehabilitation Program helps qualifying residents with essential fixes like roofing, heating and cooling, electrical work, and water heaters at no cost to you. See if you qualify today at maranaaz.gov/CDBG and keep your home safe and comfortable.
People lose their valuables every day simply because they forget to lock their car doors. Don't be another statistic. Remove all your belongings anytime you leave your car, including weapons. This is a message from the Marana Police Department, reminding you to lock it or lose it.
Yeah, so the pool really, if you've been there, it's such a popular amenity.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. We live in a hot climate. And it's a great, what we've noticed is it's a great outing for families. Families would, parents get off work, kids are out of school, load up a cooler, come down to the MARC, and make an evening of it. So it was really popular all summer long. But then summer ended, and the majority of our lifeguard workforce are students. So we would love to be able to be open more hours, but the reality is our lifeguards aren't available until later in the day. And so we have safety standards that we have to abide by, and safety is our number one mission in everything we do, but particularly at the MARC pool. And so we're not able to meet the ratios that we need to safely be able to open the pool. We are able to open for lap swim earlier in the day because that takes far fewer lifeguards to manage that portion of the pool. But once we open the recreation pool, because of the size of it, the way it's spread out, the different contours, the requirements demand that you have lifeguards stationed at every different angle to make sure you can see every bit of the pool. And if you've seen the pool, you see it's a fun design, but it makes it a little bit more difficult to manage. And so without the proper staffing, we just are not going to take the risk to open the pool unless we can be certain that we've got the proper number of people to manage safety.
Isn't that something like 9? You have to have 9 for that family pool, the play pool? Is it something like that?
At a minimum.
At a minimum.
At a minimum. That doesn't account for volume.
Yeah.
So 9 just, that gives us the coverage of the different stations, but then for every 25 people, we've got to have another body available, and then that also doesn't account for breaks. So the lifeguards have a rotation. So they can't be out. So if a lifeguard is doing a 6-hour shift, they can't be out on deck for those 6 hours straight. Mm-hmm. They rotate from a chair to the deck and then inside for a break. And that's for their safety too. Right. If we're not keeping them safe, they're not able to keep the public safe. We'll always fall back on safety. That's what we're here for, and we won't compromise that.
Yeah. It's one thing. We absolutely want people to have fun, enjoy it, but most of all, we want them to be safe doing so. And so, yeah, you guys got that down, and I know you understand that. People have said, well, why don't you hire adult lifeguards? And I've told them, look, if you're a 25-year-old person, you're not working for $15 an hour as a lifeguard for 10, 15 hours a week. That's just not happening. So
exactly. If they were adults wanting to do that, we would hire them right away.
Yeah, no applications coming in from adults who want to be lifeguards part-time at the MARC. So great stuff there. But besides the MARC, with the indoor courts that we have for pickleball, anything else on the pickle? Because that's one of the questions we're getting a lot is the town got anything on the horizon for more pickleball courts and more pickleball opportunities?
We do, and they mentioned the MARC, and I actually just played pickleball on my lunch break down there today. It's a lot of fun.
Did you win?
I did not win today.
Oh, he's modest. He always wins. He always wins.
But I'll be back for more next week.
Okay, well, there you go.
So, yeah, pickleball, again, continues to be extremely popular, and that doesn't seem to be dying down, and we recognize that. And so it's a part of our planning as we look at future properties. But I'd say the what's coming up the soonest is at Saguaro Bloom Park. We'll be adding 3 brand new pickleball courts outdoors. So that's we have 3.
That's gonna be popular.
It's gonna be very popular. We've got in Ormeharn Park right now, we've got 3 outdoor courts. They're very popular. So these 3 courts will be closer to Southern Marana. Mm-hmm. So 3 courts over there for the rest of the community to use. So we know those will be very popular. And again, every time we're making plans for new facilities, pickleball will be part of that planning. Beginning next year, we're going to start an update of our 10-year master plan. We're at the 5-year point. We're going to start an update for the next 5 years or so, and we'll be taking public input, and I'm sure that pickleball will rise to the top of the requested amenities in that plan.
Very good. All right, so we got pickleball, we got the MARC. Here's something else people are wanting to know. And Jim, you're an avid bike rider. People want to know, we got more events coming up that are run events, ride events. What's on the horizon for us in that regard?
Terry, I think we have done a good job as a town, with our seasonal events. We do a turkey trot, and we do a Mother's Day run, and we do a New Year's run that we call the Eggnog Jog. And, we'll get 300 people show up for each one of those. And with families and friends, you can have up to 500. So they're really nice town fitness events. And then we do a couple mountain bike races in the Tortolita Preserve. However, beyond that, our focus is to provide environment for people to train and to exercise, to run, to bike, to do those activities like along the loop.
Right.
We have over 14,000 people per month on our electronic counter using the loop north of Ina, which we maintain, 13 and a half miles from Ina to Sanders Road. Tortolita Preserve, one of probably the nicest 9.5 mile single track mountain bike tracks in southern Arizona. We maintain that. I mean, our people are out there, they keep it in great shape. So even though we do those events that I mentioned, we're not going to expand in the event business per se.
Right.
The truth is, doing a road ride like the El Tour de Tucson or those type of it's a big liability. It requires a very high volume of law enforcement officers, and we're going to be sensible about that. It's very challenging to do a road
Costly.
It's very expensive. Time consuming. And we have a lot of experience in that. Not to get into that, but in my career, I coordinated about 25 road rides that had in the ballpark 700 riders per ride.
Wow.
Per event. So it is something that I'm very familiar with because I've done those events, and they were 100-kilometer rides, which were 62 miles. And we would go out and you put out the signs and you hire the law enforcement. So it's something I do understand very well. But I never thought that it was the right fit for the town because I thought it would be a burden for the town. But what we really have worked very hard in the town is to provide the environments for people to train and exercise to do those activities, along with our seasonal runs and events and some of these mountain bike rides that we're doing in our single track up at the Tortolita Preserve. And I think that's kind of where we are. And I think our community is very happy with that.
We feel comfortable with that. That's kind of the lane we're going to stay in. And man, you have lots of places to bike and hike and walk and run in this community, whether it's Tortolita Preserve, whether it's the shared use path, the Chuck Huckleberry Loop, all throughout the town, lots of places.
Yeah.
So
in Terry, our events are so family orientated. We want somebody to come. You might have a youthful grandparent come in with 3 or 4 of their grandkids to one of our runs. We're about getting people involved in these activities, and we think our events stimulate that type of activity for the whole family.
Excellent. So this next question, I told you everything was Parks and Rec oriented here because we've got a lot of people wanting to know about these things. But this person's been listening to the podcast here, and they pull up the episode 55 from June of last year. We said that we were going to be starting on the disc golf course after the monsoons in 2024, and now we're after the monsoons of 2025, wanting to know, hey, what gives? Why hasn't the town moved forward on the disc golf stuff? Or do we not care about it anymore? Where are we at with it?
All fair questions. And I remember that episode. I was on that episode, and we did say that. So you heard correctly. We were wrong. The project is still important to us. It's still in the works, but our timing was wrong. And that happens. We talk about it all the time. Nothing ever goes completely right with a project. And so we're working through, some hiccups there. When you do projects along the river in particular, there are some factors that can slow things down. Factors related to drainage. There are a lot of other entities that are involved along the river. And so we're working through those things, but the project hasn't gone away. It's the disc golf community has been very patient. We've always found them great partners, great to work with. We appreciate their passion and enthusiasm. And so I'm gonna throw out a date here. Don't hold me to it if I'm a little bit off. But we just had a project meeting this week, and our project manager feels that we will be looking at starting construction beginning of the year sometime. So January, February. This isn't a long project once construction starts. So our hope would be by spring of next year, summer of next year, the disc golf course will be up and running. But again, very fair question. And I believe they're also wondering what happened to some of the baskets that were out there, because there were baskets left over from the previous course. It's very busy out there. A lot of traffic on bikes and people walking, families walking the loop out there. And so a couple things. It just, there became a little bit of a safety factor with people still throwing discs while people are riding and walking on the loop. So that was one of the reasons that we removed some of those baskets. But the other reason is that we're doing a lot of work out there removing invasive species and doing restoration. And so we just needed to remove some of those things so that we could complete these projects. And again, we appreciate the patience that the disc golf community has shown, but we haven't forgotten you, and we are working hard to bring that course to you. And again, before next monsoon, I think is a safe bet.
Well, Wayne, here's a couple of things I really appreciated about that response. Number one, taking ownership of the fact we got it wrong. Thought we were going to do it, started a year ago. We didn't make it. We're still working on it. And, it's funny how much more complicated projects get when we have multiple partners and we don't have 100% control. And that's certainly the case with this particular project. The other thing I really appreciate and value about it is the commitment to seeing this thing through. It's been challenging, it's been difficult, but you guys haven't given up on it. You're still pushing through, and our residents are going to benefit, and other people in the region, even non-residents, I know will be using that facility as well. So, gentlemen, those were the major things. Is there anything else that you think you'd like to highlight with regard to Parks and Recs before I turn to another topic I want to?
Yeah, I would. So going back to the MARC, we talked about the building and the planning to before construction and design and how beautiful it is. But now that it's open, it's amazing to see it in action, to see it being used for the purpose that it was built. Programming is starting to really take off there. Our summer program was fantastic. We had 80 young people registered, and every session filled up. It was a great experience, not only for the young people, but for the families and for our staff. And now that we're back into school, we're doing some after-school programming. We've got a PE program that we're doing that's been really popular. We have Parents' Night Out as a regular feature that we're offering once a month. That one fills up right away, so that one's really popular. But something that's coming starting next month, we heard a need from the community for some parent-taught classes. And we heard that from several people, and we certainly feel that that's a program, the type of program that Parks and Recreation should provide. And so starting next month, we've got some parent-taught.
Next month, meaning October?
Meaning
like
October.
In 5 days?
5 days.
Oh, right on.
We've got some parent-taught programming coming. We're really excited about it. Starting off a little small because we want to make sure that we can get our feet underneath us and make sure that we're developing quality programs. The first session, I can tell you, is already full. And we know that once we get our feet underneath us, we'll be able to grow those programs. And so those are the kind of things, we hear the feedback, we evaluate how we can make those things happen, and our staff are doing a fantastic job of responding to the community need.
Very good. And you guys are renting out space there now, right? Beginning October.
Beginning October.
5 more days to start renting out space.
That's
okay.
right. October 1, we'll start taking reservations, and soon as we get those on the books, we'll start reserving the community room, our multi-purpose rooms, and then the swimming pool will be available to rent as a large facility as well.
All right. Basketball courts at some point too?
Yep, good call. Basketball courts will be available right from the start.
Very good. All right. So cool things happening across the town relative to Parks and Recs. Jim, anything you want to highlight in addition to?
Yeah, I do think, Terry. The program that Wayne was referring to, the children can be as young as infants. And we had heard from a young lady this summer who had an infant and was just really challenged with activities. And I want to bring it up because we listen to people when they call. Yeah. And we felt as if
that's awesome.
She's right.
Yeah.
And that's a void. And as well as we're big on, and we emphasize it. Let's not be patting ourselves on the back because things are going well. Let's look at the things where we're not serving. And I think we try to be disciplined in that regard. And when we heard from this young mom, I'm really proud of our staff. We really just kicked it in gear to try to think about programming that would serve her and other young parents in the community. And just delighted that in the next week we're going to start that programming, because we were educated too with some young moms of needs that they had that I don't think that we were being responsive to, and now we are. So
That's awesome.
I
I love that, Jim. And I love that about the directors here is you guys are always looking for ways to make things better, not settling for the status quo. I'm not saying take it or leave it. This is what we offer. Too bad, so sad. But always looking for ways to elevate people's quality of life. That's who we are. Trailblazers, raising the bar for the best quality of life. So that's the vision. You guys are meeting that in spades. So congratulations to both of you. Really appreciate that. Well, I'm going to shift gears here. I don't know if it's downshifting or upshifting, but this is Jim's last episode with us because he's got 2 weeks with the town because he's retiring after how many years in public service, Jim?
a little over 45.
Little over 45 years in public service.
I actually said that out loud. That's the first
That's
time.
fantastic, man.
That's the first time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, we're so proud of Jim, and we're so grateful to Jim and the leadership that he's provided over the last 8 years. And so I'm going to ask him a few questions, but I also want to make sure that people know when I said that Wayne Barnett is only going to be the Deputy Director of Parks and Recs for 2 more weeks. It's not because he's leaving us. Because he's going to jump up and take the helm from Jim Conroy as the Parks and Recs Director. So let's start with that. Congratulations to you, Wayne, for the work that you've put in to put yourself in the position of being the next Parks and Recs Director for the town of Marana.
Thanks, Terry. I recognize how fortunate I am. I love working for the town. I've been here just over 6 years now, and I say this all the time. It's just a special place to work for a lot of different reasons. For me, one of the really big reasons it's a special place to work is that I've gotten to work with Jim. He's been just a great mentor and a great coach for me. We've got such great momentum going in the department. I don't take it lightly, the responsibility that will fall upon me at this point. Jim has been such a great leader, and I want to do everything I can to sort of keep that going. He's big shoes to fill, for sure.
Big shoes to fill, but I will tell you that Jim Conroy has prepared you well, and he and you combined made the decision for me so easy to simply do the plug and play. Jim Conroy is retiring, moving on, and we're so happy and proud for him. But to be able to just, without any hesitation, reservation, consternation, we just take Wayne Barnett and say, hey, this is our guy. You agree with me there, Jim?
Yeah, Wayne's going to be a tremendous director. Just give you an idea of the professionalism of Wayne. I mentioned that association, that 90-plus municipalities that visited the MARC. That's our state professional association, Arizona Park and Rec Association, 3,000 members. Mm-hmm. Basically, everybody that works for a Parks and Rec department in the state belongs to it. And Wayne was the president of that this past year, and then 2 years before that, he was vice president, et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of time, but I think it demonstrates, Wayne's commitment as a professional. The town is very fortunate to have Wayne. He's a modest person. He's a humble person. But to be the president of a statewide association, Terry, you're a high-level professional. I know you appreciate it. It just speaks volumes of the quality of the Park and Recreation Director we have, and that he's going to be here, and he's committed, and has great vision. Yeah, I just feel the town's really blessed to have Wayne walking into this job.
But enough about Wayne.
Okay, because Wayne's feeling uncomfortable. That's okay. I just, I think it's important that our community knows that because Jim has been beloved and he's going to be greatly missed. But I certainly want to know, and Jim articulated so well, that we're in good hands. But Jim, I got a couple of questions for you because as we send you off, man, I just want to hear from you, the wisdom that you've imparted to your staff and to the leadership team over the years, so greatly valued and appreciated. And I wondered if maybe, I know I'm catching you off guard here. You had no idea I was going to do this, but just kind of looking back, what accomplishments or impacts are you most proud of leaving this community with as you end your career here in the town of Marana?
Yeah, Terry, I think it's not a hard question to answer. It's really the quality of the people that we've brought on the staff. As you always say, and I'm just a firm believer in it, you hire the best people that you can hire, and lots of other things just take care of themselves. And we have emphasized character, and it's not just a cliche. Not everybody's on the team that maybe was once upon a time. And that's not to say that, we're a real aggressive management team, because we're not. I think we're super fair. But we're looking for people of high integrity, because the way they're going to treat people and the way they're going to serve the public. I mean, we are servants. We are public servants. So the thing that I'm most proud of is I think that the Parks and Recreation team, as well as the overall town team, is just loaded with so many quality people, so many people who are self-reflective in their own behavior to become better leaders. And I see that in our staff. I see it in other town staff. But that's probably the thing I feel proudest and best of, having been a small part of that, and the importance of that. And we probably talk about leadership topics, Terry, that in a lot of organizations, they're uncomfortable to talk about, about our behavior and our responsibility and how we conduct ourselves. And I think that just makes a really good team. And sometimes those conversations are very uncomfortable. Yeah. But we've worked hard at developing leaders and keeping one another in check. And you and I have had those conversations. Sure. You've helped me. That's something.
Well, Jim, you're a modest guy too, because you said getting the opportunity to play some small part in all of that, and you've been a big part of that, and so grateful to you for that. One more question I want to ask you before we close things out, and that is any words of wisdom or message that you'd like to share with your team, the team that's going to pick up the ball and continue to charge forward, and any message or words of wisdom you'd like to share with them in closing.
Yeah, it might sound corny, but I feel passionately about this, is that every citizen's important. It's just like the young parent who contacted us, and she made us aware that she had a baby in the last few months and she needed an activity, and that this was a population that we needed to serve. She's important. Going on the other end of the spectrum, we have folks that are over 80 years old, 85. A lot of them are alone now in their life, and they come to our senior program. We have over 700 senior citizens, Terry, in our Marana senior program, and they go to the Orame Senior Center, probably 55 to 70 people a day. In parties, there could be 150. But of those 700 members, we see many of them throughout the month where they come and socialize. And sometimes, we're the only socialization they have, because they've lost their partner and they're by themselves. Our staff will reach out to them if they don't see them for a few days, make sure everything's okay. And then everybody in between. You're a young parent, you have 3 kids, and the girl's playing softball, the boy's playing baseball. You're spending 4 nights a week at our park. It's a big part of your lifestyle. Parks and Recreation, from that young mom to those seniors to the young parents with 2 kids in a sports league and they're living at the park, it's part of people's lifestyle. And I try to remind our staff that that's what we do. And that's an important part of making a better quality of life for people. And that everybody's important, from the 1-month-old all the way through to the 87-year-old who just wants to come in and have a cup of coffee with somebody. And I think that's the flag we need to carry. That is really something that I feel strongly about. And I know when Wayne does the 5-year master plan, I'm a strong believer in our long-term plans, but it's macro to micro. You got to have the big plans for the macro in place, but you also have to be 10 feet off the ground to pick up the phone and make sure that an 83-year-old in your senior program that you've not seen for 3 days, you need to call her, make sure she's okay.
Yeah. Great stuff, Wayne. Great stuff. The standard you set, the legacy you're leaving will long be remembered here, not just because you got your name on a street sign that leads into the MARC, but because of all the work that you've done behind the scenes with your team. So congratulations to you on your retirement. I know Betsy's excited. I know you're going to be spending a lot of time with those new grandchildren of yours. One brand new grandchild.
Yeah, brand new.
Yeah. So best of luck to you, brother. And I so appreciate both of you being here on the show today. And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us once again. Until next time. Submit your questions by visiting maranaaz.gov/realtalk, and we'll answer them right here. To receive notifications for new releases, remember to hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Also, remember to follow the town on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date on current news and events.